Miss Horniber, and she is sometimes called Miss H by students. We call her Angela because we are her coworkers. And she is the wonderful expert in our dormitory about student life and student life programming. We want our dormitory not only to be a place where students can be taken care of physically, but also taken care of emotionally and socially. We all know in the world of international education, bringing international teenagers over to a new country without their parents is challenging. And we want them to be able to be cared for in the way that their parents would care for them, and maybe even better sometimes, because we have really wonderful programming in the dormitory that helps our students to grow. It helps them to start to become more independent, to know how to express their feelings, to advocate for themselves, and to mature and grow into young adults that are ready to go into college and be independent in college and successful. So today we're going to have Ms. Horniber introduce our residential life program and tell about the work she does there that gives us so much success in our residential life program.
I'll just say too, there's a few slides, introductory slides, and before we forget, we will mention, like Tammy, like you mentioned, there is a program each month, and next month we already have scheduled the summer camp program talk. So look forward to that. We have a great summer camp program as well. But without further ado, here's Angela.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, and good morning or good evening, everyone. As you mentioned, I'll be sharing about the residential life program, and it's so exciting to be a part of that aspect of the students' experience and a big part of their lives here, especially with a lot of exciting developments over the past year, especially as you see pictured here, our new dormitory, which was built just last year in 2019, and it houses a majority of the international students as well as some domestic students who are not local to Milwaukee. So to share a little bit about how the dorm is set up, we do have 12 apartment units with a kitchenette and living room, and with double bedrooms so that each student can have a roommate. And when we do roommate placements and decide who's going to live together, we prioritize especially diversity, so that we have two students together from different countries who speak different languages, and they're able to start bridging those cultural gaps together and speaking a lot of English together during the day as well. We have 3 supervisor apartments placed on each floor so that students are able to readily access help for various needs or in case of emergency. And on the first floor, there's also a large space for recreation and a kitchen. On the next slide, you can see some pictures from inside of the dormitory. So it's a really beautiful place to live. And there's a lot of space both for students to socialize and study together, as well as their personal space where they can spend time with friends or focused on studying. We also have a great neighborhood around us. It's really conveniently located so that the dormitory is very close to school, but also has a lot of other places in the nearby neighborhood. We're located right on nearby Milwaukee Parkland, so it's a really beautiful area, very quiet, but also has nearby grocery store, a pharmacy, even local custard sandwiches, something that is common in Milwaukee that people really enjoy, or a cup of coffee in the afternoon with their friend, or out in the park where they can get some fresh air and exercise and spend a little bit of time outside the dormitory as well in a place that's safe and quiet. As I mentioned, there are 3 supervisor apartments inside of the building. So we do have 4 residential staff, but here you can see pictured 6 of our staff that work in the dormitory. We have 7 full and part-time staff. On the right side is Mr. Dean Carter, who is our Dean of Residential Life, by Mr. Doug Carter, and runs our dormitory. And all of the staff have backgrounds in education, in social work, religion, healthcare, and really have a shared passion for intercultural experience, and especially the well-being and the personal growth of the young people that we get to take care of. So these are people who are going to really prioritize relationship building and making a strong dorm community. And they're the people that really make it possible to run a residential life program. So to share a little bit about what a residential life program means, it's going to encompass everything in the daily routine of the students that live here. This is their home, so we have a goal of providing a place where they can focus on study and also have a really well-rounded high school experience. So that's going to include things like having well-established routines, providing nutritious meals, things that they would get in a home environment, as well as having many recreational or educational activities beyond the classroom, beyond academic life. They have a chance to have some leadership opportunities within the dorm and develop life skills that they use in the rest of their time here outside of the classroom. We also recognize that while we're caring for an entire community and they do need routines and rules for the whole, but we also need to make sure that each individual student is cared for in the various ways that they need. So with our professional and caring staff, they're able to be flexible in a way where they can meet individual needs proactively and as they happen, whether it's scheduled one-on-one time with intentional conversations with students, homework help that students can receive from their friends and also from supervisors, making sure that students who need special care, if they're ill or injured, that they are able to recover well, and transportation, whether it's for SAT tests or banking or getting picked up from the airport. These are just some of the ways that we care for a large variety of individual needs as they happen in the dorm, so that we are really caring for each student as they need. During the school day, of course, they are spending a majority of their time at school, but having consistent routines is something that is going to help our students to be organized and to understand expectations and also know what they can expect. So this schedule that you see here is taken directly from our student handbook, something students are introduced to right away to understand what everyday life in the dorm is going to look like. It's designed to balance and emphasize good habits and priorities, like getting a proper amount of sleep by having a bedtime, having regular meals, having time when they can specifically focus on quiet study. So in the evening, we do have our study hall from 7 p.m. to 8:30, and we really see that students, their number one job is to be a good student, and our number one job is to provide an environment that promotes good study habits. One way that we can do that is by placing students in different locations based on grades or other behavior. Some students have demonstrated they can handle more responsibility and freedom, and they can choose to study with friends or in locations based on what they've learned about what works best for their learning style. On the other hand, there are students who might be in a more supervised environment because perhaps they need help to focus, or it's a challenging English level for them, or even if they haven't prepared as well as they could have for an assessment or for homework. And getting extra monitoring and support is going to help train them to be focused and productive students, and also to receive help when they might not have been taught to ask for help. So they learn to seek out the supports that are in place for them. Now, on the weekend, there are still routines, but it's more flexible with free time that the students can decide and learn how to spend their time wisely, still with meals and bedtime, but also free time when they can do things on their own or with the option of many different activities. Some of the activities are fairly routine. Every weekend, as I mentioned, they do have free time to call home or spend time with friends or cook in that nice big kitchen on the first floor. But we also offer several things that they can use to fill their time. On Sunday, they do have a chance to do online worship together in the dorm or at a local Christian church. We want to encourage them to exercise with open gym or going to the fitness center at the school. And we also have weekend shuttles every weekend so they can take care of shopping, take care of errands like medical appointments or banking or even tests when they have their SAT or their TOEFL. For dorm activities, I want to expand on that in later slides, but we have a lot of initiatives and programs in the dorm that are there to help them grow as a community and grow as individuals. So the first one I'll talk about is what we've come to call funtivities. So these are specifically going to be activities that we do out in the local Milwaukee community. They might be recreational or cultural, athletic. You can see they went to a Milwaukee Bucks basketball game, or even educational, going to different museums. Milwaukee has a lot of great museums. In a normal year, there are also many festivals in Milwaukee that demonstrate a lot of local culture that they can experience. So when they go on these activities, they're with a smaller group of students, a variety of people, so they can work on building relationships, and they can see what American culture and life looks like outside of the school, outside of the academic environment, and grow in that way as well. Whether it's kayaking or going to the Milwaukee Art Museum, they can see life outside of their normal routine and the classroom. Another thing that we often encourage students to get involved in is volunteering. There are groups in the school that also are able to go on volunteering experiences, but we do recognize that even as a high school student, it certainly has its share of stress in different situations. And as international students, we know that there are times where we do want to help them through homesickness or loneliness or other things that a young person might deal with. And volunteering is something that has been shown to increase self-confidence, to help counteract depression, anxiety, and stress, emotions that are difficult for teenagers to handle. And of course, when it is time for them to put together a university application, American universities really prioritize, they'd like to see students who have demonstrated willingness to serve and the different experiences they have through that, different types of people they interact with, and ways that they have helped give back to the community. This year so far, we've been able to help with cleaning local parks, doing some environmental cleanup, as you see pictured here, and more recently serving meals at a homeless shelter, which also gives them a very different perspective on life and a chance to help others. We also have a residential activities committee. So as part of planning different dorm activities, this group of students has a chance to get involved, to give their feedback and give their input and practice leadership. These, this year, 9 students are students who have demonstrated that they can be role models, and what they're able to do by leading these activities is demonstrate students who want to bridge cultural gaps. They are students from many different countries, and when their peers see them leading these activities, when they see them working together, that does help student engagement, and it helps students to interact with others who they might not have interacted with, to grow through experiences, to grow new relationships, and pursue things that are either of interest to them or might get them out of their comfort zone a little bit. And as they're leading these, now these students get to practice organizational planning skills. They get to see what it's like to be a leader and to have some responsibility. And it's something they can even put on their college resume to demonstrate that they have had leadership experience, that that's something that they have grown in. They've planned some really awesome activities this year. Some of these are upcoming, some of them they've already done, but by having this wide variety, they reach out to all of the different students that live in the dormitory, whether it is sports or music or art, video games, and holiday parties. They love to have that enthusiasm and have different experiences that take their mind off of school for a weekend and give them a chance to relax and enjoy one another's company and try different things.
I'm just going to break in there for a minute and tell you that these students, when there is good student leadership inside of a residential life dormitory program, the students help each other, help the new students that come in to learn about how to be successful. Really, when students learn from each other, it's more effective than when we as adults and teachers tell them how to act and how to behave. So this leadership is essential to have a strong, healthy student body where students show love and kindness. So many times people ask me, am I going to get bullied when I go to your school? And I can tell them, no, because our school has such a great social community of students that care about each other and help each other in their daily lives.
That's a really good point, and something I really like to emphasize with this group. I'm the advisor for the Residential Activities Committee, and really emphasize to them often how much influence they have with their peers and how much they're able to contribute to the positive environment that we have there, because the other students do look up to them, and then over time they become the people that are looked up to as well, and keep those positive relationships growing, and the peer-to-peer encouragement all really has built a really welcoming and inclusive community in our dorm. She talked about how it also helps new students to integrate into the dorm life, and another way that we're able to do that is by having what you could call residential education. We want to also intentionally build and promote a bonding relationship between smaller groups of students. So when students come to the dormitory in the beginning of the year, they're divided into what we call houses for smaller groups of students who each have a supervisor, mentor who works with them. And this program, it does support integration so that they're able to start building relationships with, for the girls, other girls on their floor in their unit, and they're divided into, we have students that are, we have groups that are all girls and then groups that are all boys with either a female supervisor or a male supervisor. And they're able to, the supervisors are able to take special time for the students who are specifically in their house to be a mentor to them, to develop trusting relationships, and provide guidance in their personal growth. And one of the biggest ways they do that is through weekly house meetings. These house meetings are once a week typically, and they're centered around a guided topical discussion about things that are really relevant to teenagers. A whole host of topics, whether it's getting good sleep, whether it's dealing with peer pressure or gossip, or how to handle conflict. And as they're going through these discussions, since they meet with the same group every week, they become close enough that they feel it's a safe and comfortable environment for sharing personal things. They love to share personal successes and encourage each other. And they can also share some of the things that they're struggling with. And it's really amazing to see as the relationships grow how much they do support one another and how much they care about what each other is going through. And in addition to the house meetings, the supervisors plan an intentional time one-on-one with each student at least once per quarter, so that they have a chance to give them constructive feedback, as well as to hear any concerns or problems that a student is going through. And because they've spent so much time with the students in their house, they have really built up that trust so that students know that they can come to them with any concerns that they might be having, or to celebrate their success. And as I mentioned, these topics, they are designed to be something that is really relevant to anything that a teenager might go through. Mental health is huge right now, and we want to make sure that they feel cared for, that they are equipped to handle stress and anxiety, that we also try and give them some skills for academic success. And they're living in a community where it's very diverse, and they're living in very close proximity with other people their age, which means that they do need to learn how to deal with one another, how to get along, how to face any conflict or problems in a positive and constructive way. So by intentionally addressing a lot of these things, we're able to give them certain skills and advice in different situations, allow them to open up about these things, and give them some guidance about how they're growing as individuals. Now, as much as I love being able to talk about normal routines, normal activities, and relationships that we have with our students, I really value the trust that families have placed in us by allowing their students to come and trusting us to take care of them. So I do want to emphasize that we're taking a lot of precautions for health and safety during the time of the COVID-19 pandemic. The school has put in place a virtual rotation day, which means that once a week, each student will have one day where they are studying online. So for our residential students, that means that it's a day in the dormitory when they are studying online, and we make sure that there are staff available throughout the entire day in case there are any issues, so that they can support them. We do daily temperature and wellness checks when they leave the dorm in the morning, so that we know everyone is healthy. But if students do present symptoms related to COVID-19, they are moved into a separate unit where they won't have contact with other students until they are symptom-free. Students whose symptoms don't diminish might be taken to get a free COVID-19 test, and they are kept isolated until we have the results, until we know how to move forward with caring for them. Right now, visitors are only allowed in the dormitory for official school business, so that we can restrict the outside contact that students have and keep the dormitory as a very safe, kind of closed community. And if we do have visitors, they go through a temperature check, a health questionnaire, they remain masked and physically distanced to protect our students. Since travel right now is not necessarily safe, or it can be very difficult, we've decided to keep the dorm open to students during Thanksgiving, for example, and Christmas time, so that students have a safe and familiar environment when they aren't able to safely travel home. And we'll, of course, have a variety of activities and events so that we can take the best possible care of the students, both physically and mentally. It is important for them to feel that they have a break and a time to relax from school, even though it's hard for them to not be able to go home. And there are many additional safety protocols that I'm happy to talk about if there are questions, but following these protocols is something that allows us to live in a family-style setting. As you can see, it's really focused on, everything that we do is focused on keeping this student-centered, prioritizing what is going to be best for our dorm community and for each individual student. They have this unique chance to live in a multicultural environment, and all of our programs, like the ones I mentioned, are intentionally designed to help these young people to make the most out of their high school and their dormitory experience. So our students through this have formed lifelong friendships with people who come from completely different backgrounds from them. And they come out of this experience really well prepared to go on to a university environment with confidence to interact with peers and faculty. They have high intercultural sensitivity, well-developed interpersonal skills, and independence to enter an adult world. So I love being part of the residential life program, and I see all the ways that it supports and adds to their high school education. Thanks for giving me a chance to share about this.
Thanks, Angela. That was really great. And I think you can see why our students love the dormitory so much, because they have great support in our teachers like Ms. Horneber, and they have great student leadership that allows them to express themselves, to learn and to grow. And they just feel really relaxed and accepted. So it's one of the best things about Wisconsin Lutheran High School's International Student Program. I do not have any questions. Oh, yes, I do. How many students live in the dormitory now? And how is their daily life and study? Maybe that's referring to because of COVID, how is their daily life and study? So maybe you can address that and then tell them how many students are in the dormitory right now.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Right now, because we do have some students who are learning online from their home country, right now the dormitory has around 40 students or so, between 40 and 45. So that also has allowed us to de-densify the population to preserve spaces if we do need to quarantine a student. That helps us to keep them safe. And what's really been fortunate is that a lot of our protocols are designed so that they can have relatively normal routines in the dormitory like they've been used to. Our returning students from previous years can see how we've been able to be consistent with a lot of the routines that they're used to. So they still are able to go to school for the school day, except their one rotation day. They still are able to have free time and go into the neighborhood safely masked, social distancing because of Milwaukee's safety protocols as well. They still have their regular study hall and even have those activities on the weekend. And so even though it's a smaller population than it has been because of online students, and even though COVID is affecting so many things, being able to live together in this community helps things to feel a little bit more normal and helps them to really focus on their academics without a lot of the outside stress.
Angela, a question that I received before from someone was, how far is the dorm from the school? And you're in the school building right now. How long was your commute from your dormitory room to the school today?
I've never timed it exactly, but depending which door you enter through, it could take as little as a minute and a half to, yep. So there are students who leave a little bit later in the morning than maybe they should, but they still make it to class on time because it's so close.
I timed it for myself once, just out of my own curiosity. With my long legs, I was walking kind of a casual pace, 1 minute 40 seconds for me. So students, depending on their speed, yeah, probably between a minute and a half and 2 minutes. I would say.
Yeah. It's especially nice when the weather does get very cold, as it sometimes does in Milwaukee winters, so that they aren't too cold when they get to the school building.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions in the chat box, but of course we always welcome questions, and For now, this is the way we're going to communicate with all our friends overseas so we can keep up our relationship with you during this difficult time in the world. We hope you are all well, and we are doing well here. And despite the fact that there are quite a few COVID cases in the USA, generally these we have not been affected in our school or in our dormitory to a large degree. And I believe it is because of our really intense safety protocols and because of the things we put in place at our school to keep our school community safe.
So as we wrap up here, I guess thanks again, Angela, for all that informative information. Just a reminder to everyone that next month's topic will be focusing on our summer camp program. So it's always nice to talk about something summery when it's in December. So that's something to look forward to. Mark it on your calendars, please. December 17th at this time in the morning for us, probably evening for you. So again, thanks for joining.
And if you have groups and students that still are looking forward to summer, have them join and learn about our summer program. It is really a high quality program. Students love it, and we would love to give you more info. So thank you.
All right, well, with that, I think we can say sayonara or auf Wiedersehen, hasta luego. We thank you for joining us today, and after this, we'll share the recording with you in case you missed any parts of it, and we'll share it with our other friends who weren't able to make it today. So thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.